My name is Marin Hale, and I'm 38. Most days, my life runs like clean code, predictable, readable, nothing exotic, just a series of small functions that keep the lights on. I'm a cybersecurity consultant. That's fancy for I babysit other people's networks so their bad habits don't burn the place down. I work from a narrow desk beneath a plant Stevie swears is plastic. It isn't. I keep it alive with a stubbornness I recognize in the mirror. Stevie is 12. He has my eyes and his own brain. Blunt, curious, precise. He's the kid who takes apart a working toaster just to see how heat learns to behave. Some nights, when the neighborhood goes quiet, the two of us sit at the workbench and let the world shrink to screws, flux, and the soft hiss of a soldering iron. The project started with a sketch on a napkin and a question that lit his whole face. What if we build it, Mom? Not buy. Build. Not a toy to unbox, but a puzzle we'd invent one piece at a time. We named it Echo. It felt right. Something we could send up into the sky and hear ourselves come back stronger. I ordered parts slowly. Motors, flight controller, a carbon fiber frame that felt like a secret in my hands. We learned what voltage wants and what current forgives. I taught him what heat does to pads, what patience does to code. He taught me how to see again, which is a more important skill than any certification on my resume. We stayed up too late more times than we should have. School night bargains traded for just one more test. Echo's first spin was lopsided, a drunk stumble of rotors and hope. The second was better. The third was a liftoff that stole the sound out of our lungs. Stevie laughed so hard the neighbor's dog protested. When we landed, he pressed his forehead to mine and whispered, "We did it." For a week, my house smelled like flux and triumph. Outside us, the family I was born into hums along on a different frequency. Elaine and Frank, my parents, were always loud on praise for the child who needed it least. Liam, my younger brother, learned early that chaos is currency. He was the storm, I was the mop. He failed glamorously, I succeeded invisibly. It's a pattern that looks benign in photos and brutal in real time. When Stevie and I finished calibrations, I texted a video of Echo's first intentional circle to a small group thread. Me, my boyfriend Ethan, and my sister-in-law from an old life who still cheers like it counts. Ethan replied first. That flight is tight. Proud of you two. Want me there Saturday to run interference if the family swings by? He knows the rhythms. He also knows I hate scenes. That was when my phone buzzed with Liam's message. No greeting, no question mark, just his signature assumption, wearing a smile. Coming Saturday. The boys want to see that flying thing. Noon. The boys, his 12-year-old twins, are energy without aim. The last time they visited, my living room looked like a concession stand after a stampede. I stared at the screen and felt that old undertow, the one that drags no toward fine. Stevie leaned over my shoulder. They want to see Echo? For real? His voice had that helium lift that makes you want to say yes to anything. I looked at him, then at the bench where Echo sat like a sleeping bird. Yeah, I said, noon is fine. I typed it back to Liam and didn't add a smiley face. He doesn't read punctuation anyway. Should I charge it? Stevie asked. Full, I said, and we'll do a pre-flight like always. He nodded, suddenly all seriousness. He's 12, but sometimes I watch him inventory a problem, and I see a 40-year-old engineer living in his small shoulders. That night, Ethan called. You sure you don't want me there? He asked. I could hear the grocery store hum around him. I can bring pizzas and authoritative adult energy. I smiled, even though he couldn't see it. If you come, Liam will perform harder. Let me try it quiet. Okay, he said. Your call. I'm 10 minutes away if things go sideways. I believed him. That matters more than it sounds. Saturday arrived wearing the same clothes it always does. Dishwasher hum, coffee, the rattle of a neighbor's truck. At 11:20, Stevie set Echo on the kitchen table and double-checked every connection like a surgeon counting gauze. He talked under his breath to the drone, to me, to the room. We patched the vibrations issue. New dampers. PID gains reset. Weather's perfect. Barely any wind. Pilot good? I asked. Pilot's great, he said, cheeks pink with a pride he'd earned. At 12:05 exactly, lateness masquerading as confidence, Liam's SUV brayed into my driveway. Music shook the glass in my front door. The twins exploded out before the engine died. Elaine and Frank arrived 90 seconds later in a car that smelled like vanilla and judgment. My mother walked in and assessed my hallway like a realtor. "You really should paint something cheerful here." "Hi, Mom," I said. "Because some rituals aren't about them. They're about who you decide to be anyway." "Marin," she trilled, kissing air next to my cheek. "Where's my genius nephew?" She did mean Stevie. She didn't mean it the way I do. My father grunted his version of hello and wandered toward the recliner like an arrow. Liam strolled in last, sunglasses still on, smile wired to sales pitch. "Sis, this place hasn't changed since high school." "It has," I said. "You weren't invited back then." He laughed like teasing was love. "Where's the toy, little man?" He ruffled Stevie's hair without asking. Stevie stepped back. "It's not a toy." "Of course it isn't," Elaine sang, tone that says exactly. "Let's see it then." Outside, the yard looked honest. Patchy grass, 2 plastic chairs, a sky made of mercy. Stevie set Echo down, hands steady. I could feel his focus like warmth. "Arming," he said, voice clipped like a pilot. Motors purred. Echo lifted, a precise ease that made something in my chest loosen. It held its place, slid left, drew a neat circle, and came back to a hover like the air remembered him. Frank actually smiled. "That's something, Marin." "It's impressive," Liam said, filming on his phone. "What did this set you back? A mortgage payment?" He laughed before I answered. "Time is money, sis. Some of us don't have free time." "Some of us invest it," I said. Stevie landed Echo in a soft kiss of plastic on grass. He lifted it like it could break from looking. "Charging cycle," he said. "We'll fly again in an hour." The twins lunged. "Let us try." "You can't," Stevie said. "You don't know how." "They're fine," Liam said. "Let them." "No," I said, flat enough to cut. "They'll break it." Liam rolled his eyes. "God, you're uptight." We migrated inside, where Elaine found new things to improve. My cabinets, my lighting, my choices. Liam launched into a monologue about expansion and international interest. Frank nodded in time like a metronome for nonsense. I poured coffee because hosts do that even when they are exhausted by the word family. Stevie slipped upstairs with Echo and the quiet walk of a boy protecting what he made. 8 minutes later, the sound arrived. A crash with weight in it, metal against bone, a crack, laughter with teeth. I didn't run so much as appear in the doorway of Stevie's room. The air smelled scorched. Echo lay in pieces, propellers curled, mainboard split, camera a starburst of ruin. Colt and Nash stood in the wreckage giggling through their phones. One held a dented aluminum bat like a trophy. Stevie sat in the corner with his face in his knees. His shoulders shook, but he didn't make a sound. That silence will live with me longer than any scream. Behind me, more laughter. Liam in the hall filming, grin easy. "Oh my God, Marin, your face. You should see it." "What did you do?" I asked. My voice didn't rise. It dropped. "Relax," he said. "It's a toy. The boys were playing. You spoil him. Consider it payback." "For what?" I said, not a question. "An autopsy." "For making the rest of us look bad," he said, like he'd found a joke in a coffin. Elaine laughed softly. "Oh, come on. It's not the end of the world." Frank stared at the floor. "He'll build another. Lesson learned." The twins pantomimed the swing again. "Boom!" one shouted. "Headshot!" I looked at Stevie. White knuckles. Tears he wouldn't show them. Hands that had built something on purpose now empty. "Get out," I said. "What?" Liam laughed. "Get out." My voice didn't shake, and that scared him more than yelling would have. He herded his boys backward, muttering something about jokes and too serious. Elaine clucked. Frank shuffled. The front door shut like a period. I knelt on the floor and picked up what was left of Echo. I didn't try to fix anything. I just laid the parts on the desk in rows. Evidence, not salvage. Stevie didn't look up for a long time. When he finally did, his lashes were wet and furious. "Why did they—" "I know," I said, because answers would only teach him the wrong thing. That night, after I put him to bed, I sat at my desk with the lamp off. The house hummed. In the dark, my monitors reflected a faint square on the wall, like an open door. I opened my laptop. I listed every favor, every midnight save, every router reset and streaming login and thermostat patch. Not for a courtroom, for my spine. At the bottom of the file, I typed 2 words, Echo Protocol. Then I added a third, begin. I didn't sleep. Not because of anger. I've burned through too much of that in my life. What kept me awake was the clarity. Grief is sharp, but clarity is sharper. At 2:17 a.m., Stevie padded into my office, hair mussed, eyes red. He didn't speak. He just crawled into my lap like he did when he was 5 and afraid of thunderstorms. I wrapped my arms around him. "I can rebuild him," he whispered. "But why would they do that?" I pressed my cheek to his hair. "Because sometimes the people who should protect us only know how to take." "We'll build something stronger," I said. "We'll build smarter." He nodded, a brave little motion that felt too old for 12. When he fell asleep against me, I carried him back to bed and tucked him beneath the quilt we sewed one summer when quiet felt like safety. Then I went back to my monitor. I typed, "Step 1, disconnect," and I began. The network of takers, every device in my parents' and brothers' homes, thermostats, cameras, locks, streaming, routers, ran through systems I installed and maintained. Over years, their houses had become mine in one unseen way: access. It started as convenience. Mom couldn't remember passwords. Dad didn't know how to update firmware. Liam couldn't troubleshoot anything without turning every small issue into a crisis. "Marin will fix it," became their family hymn. But tonight, the hymn went silent. I opened the admin panel. 2 nodes blinking in quiet compliance. Row household, Liam. Hale household, Elaine and Frank. Green lights, functioning. I almost felt sentimental. Then I remembered Stevie's fingers shaking on broken carbon fiber. And the sentiment died. Echo protocol, execute. I started with Liam. His Wi-Fi SSID read, "Row home." I renamed it, "Access denied." Then I generated a 30-character random password, copied it nowhere, applied changes. The mesh network fell dark. Next, I disabled streaming access, Netflix, Hulu, Prime, Disney+, every subscription he'd used under my credentials. Passwords changed. 2FA set to my device. All logged out sessions flushed. His TVs would spin loading wheels like prayers that no one answered. I disabled remote smart lock access. Manual key entry only. Lights offline. Thermostat manual. Security cameras local only, no cloud. His house reverted to something almost primitive. It would stay warm, stay safe, just inconvenient. I never wanted to hurt them. Just wanted them to feel reality. A reality without me. My parents were next. Their network name had always been pathetic. Frank Elaine 5G. I changed the password, killed cloud integration, turned their thermostat to eco mode, 65 at night, 78 in the day. Not dangerous, just honest. The digital photo frame that cycled baby pictures of Liam's twins went dark. A black pixel replaced memories. Their doorbell still recorded, but didn't ring. They'd have to check manually. Everything was still livable, but no longer effortless. Because ease was a gift they pretended was entitlement. I flipped the last control. Remote admin. Disable. The screen asked confirmed. "Are you sure you want to revoke your access?" My fingers hovered over the trackpad. This wasn't revenge. This was release. I clicked yes. Both nodes turned gray. Offline. I closed the laptop. Echo protocol. Phase 1. Complete. The quiet after. The house settled. The only sound was the hum of Stevie's soldering station on standby. I sat in the dark and pictured Liam's morning. He'd wake up, find nothing working, assume the world owed him a fix. He'd call me, and for the first time in his life, I wouldn't answer. At 8:03 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Liam. Yo, internet's down. Did you change something?" I drank my coffee. 8 minutes later, "Liam, I said internet is dead. I have work." 5 missed calls. I silenced notifications. At 9:21, "Mom, your father can't turn on the TV. Please check it." At 9:23, "Mom, also it's cold." At 9:24, "Mom, and the doorbell isn't ringing." I slid my phone face down. Stevie sat beside me, forming a new frame bracket. "You're not fixing it?" he asked. "No," I said. He looked almost startled. Years had taught him that Mom fixes everything. Why not? Because they broke something that didn't belong to them. Now they get to learn how to fix their own things. He nodded slowly, absorbing something more important than circuitry. The phone buzzed again. I ignored it. A new build. Stevie and I began planning Echo 2.0. A sturdier frame, better shock absorption, a smarter flight controller. He suggested reinforced prop guards. I suggested we name our debug logs after constellations, because we deserved a myth. We printed brackets in the small 3D printer he saved up birthday money to buy. I taught him how to read data sheets and question tolerances. He soldered with hands steadier than any grown man I'd ever seen do metalwork. His grief turned into design. Mine turned into decision. Midday fury. At noon, I heard tires screech outside. I didn't flinch. A fist pounded the door. Loud, rhythmic, entitled. I opened it. Liam. Face red. Breathing like a threat. phone clutched in hand. "What the hell did you do?" he demanded. "Good afternoon," I said. "My internet is out. My accounts won't log in. My streaming is gone. My thermostat is freezing. And my clients are waiting." I raised a hand. I took back what I built. "You think this is funny?" he spat. "No." His jaw clenched. "You're fixing it now." "No," I repeated, calm, still. "Or I'm calling the cops." "For what?" I asked. "For disabling systems I own and pay for? For revoking my access to services under my contract? All I did was stop doing free labor." He faltered. "You're insane," he said. "No," I replied. "I've simply stopped being useful to people who only take." He stepped forward, a threat he couldn't cash. "You'll regret this." "I already did," I said, "and now I'm done." I shut the door on a man who had never learned how to close anything quietly. I locked it because boundaries don't apologize. The pounding continued, then stopped. Then tires tore off into the street. Silence returned. It didn't feel empty. It felt earned. Echo 2. That evening, Stevie calibrated motors while I designed a smarter failsafe. In the soft whir of testing, I realized something. We weren't rebuilding a drone. We were rebuilding ourselves. Together, on purpose, without asking permission. When Echo 2.0 lifted an inch off the table, steady, confident, Stevie whispered, "He's stronger." I touched his shoulder. "So are you. So am I." 3 days passed. 3 days of silence from people who had never gone 3 hours without demanding something. It was peaceful, too peaceful. I knew my family's silence was only ever the breath before a storm. Still, I let the quiet linger. Stevie and I worked late each night, piecing Echo 2.0 together like a secret language only we spoke. Every click of plastic, every soft spark of solder felt like reclaiming something stolen, something sacred. That Monday morning, I brewed coffee, savoring the smell, when my laptop chimed. A notification. Not from my family, from the hosting service managing Liam's business website. Domain unreachable. Server failure. Credentials missing. I stared at the screen. I hadn't touched his business accounts. Didn't need to. He'd built everything on top of the network access he never bothered to understand. Without my admin credentials, his entire digital foundation was crumbling. Actions have consequences, even if he was too old to have learned that sooner. I closed the notification and took another sip of coffee, letting the bitterness settle on my tongue. It tasted like closure. Cracks in their world. By noon, another message. Email server unreachable. Data backup not found. I didn't smile. But I wasn't sad either. Liam had built his identity like a glass tower. Shiny, fragile, rigged with shortcuts instead of structure. Without someone holding it up, it was only ever going to fall. He just never thought that someone might walk away and let gravity finish the job. Consequences find their owner. That afternoon, a news headline flashed on a local community page. Local sales operator faces service shut off. Clients report loss of data. I clicked. There he was, Liam, caught mid-rant in a poorly filmed phone video, standing in the parking lot of his rented office space, shouting into the phone. He looked smaller, less shiny. The comments below were merciless. Didn't he brag about handling big clients? Sounds like he never backed anything up. Classic row. Talk big, deliver nothing. People remember the truth when the curtain falls, and they remember who pulled the strings. Someone tagged me in the comments. I ignored it. For years, I had been the scaffolding holding up hollow walls. Now, without me, the hollowness sang. They tried another door. Tuesday morning, there was a knock at my house. Soft, uncertain. Not the pounding Liam delivered. I opened the door to see my mother, Elaine, wrapped in a thick sweater, expression brittle. Her voice was too gentle, as if softness might reset the past. "Marina, can we talk?" She stepped inside before I answered, looking around like the house had changed in her absence. It hadn't. Just her access to it had. She clutched a stack of unopened mail and a thermos I suspected she hadn't prepared. "Your father and I—" She cleared her throat. "We're struggling." The urge to say welcome to my childhood itched on my tongue. I didn't. I just folded my arms. "Our doorbell doesn't work. The heating is unpredictable. Your father keeps missing his shows." She lowered her eyes. "We didn't realize how much we relied on you." Relied. A gentler word for burdened. Foreused. She continued, voice quiet but practiced, like she'd spent all night rehearsing. "We thought maybe you could come by and fix things." "No," I said. Her eyes snapped up, surprised. Shocked even. "No," she repeated. "No." I didn't soften the word. Didn't dilute it with apology or explanation. She blinked rapidly, the way someone does when the world suddenly refuses to bend. After a long moment, her shoulders slumped. "I understand," she whispered. But she didn't. Not yet. She reached into her bag, pulling out a small container. I brought soup, she murmured, placing it on the counter. An offering, a bribe, a plea. Maybe all three. I didn't touch it. She looked around once more, as if searching for an anchoring point in a home she'd never learned. Her voice trembled. We love you, Marin. There was a time I would have believed her. Now I simply nodded. You can let yourself out, I said. Her mouth parted, briefly, then closed. She left without another word, footsteps soft but heavy. The door clicked shut. The soup stayed on the counter until I poured it down the sink. Some things are better washed away. A new future takes shape. That evening, Stevie and I installed the new camera module for Echo 2.0. He held the frame steady while I tightened screws. You okay? He asked. His voice was small, not afraid but cautious. Observant. Smart. I am, I said. It felt true. He nodded and returned to calibrating sensors. The workshop filled with soft whirs and electronic chirps, a symphony of rebuilding. Then, a quiet. Mom? I exhaled slowly. We rarely talked about her. She'd left when he was 6. No dramatic goodbye, no slammed doors. Just gone. He talked to her occasionally on video calls. She sent postcards with oceans and temples and markets. But she'd never returned. He stared at the table. When Uncle Liam filmed Echo breaking, his voice wavered. I kind of wished Mom was here. I reached out, rested my hand over his. I know, he swallowed. I don't think she would have stopped it, but she would have been angry with them, and not with me. His words hit like a quiet truth. Sometimes protection isn't about lifting a shield, but about standing beside someone and saying, that wasn't right, and I see you. I'm angry with them, I said. His eyes lifted to mine. And I'm here. He nodded slowly. Yeah, he whispered, you are. We sat there a moment, hands still, tools quiet, grief settling into shape. Then he spoke again. We'll make Echo better. It wasn't a question, just certainty. We will, I said, because love, real love, doesn't ask for perfect. Just presence. We turned back to this table where Echo 2.0 waited like a promise. Rebuilt. Reborn. Next flight, we'd give him a sky worthy of his name. By Thursday, their silence shattered. It always does. Not with an apology or accountability. Those are rarities in my bloodline. No. It broke with accusation. A notification popped up on my phone, screenshotted from social media. Liam Rowe, public post. My sister sabotaged my business out of jealousy and spite. She shut down our home systems, destroyed years of work, and is now hiding behind a kid's toy as her excuse. There were more screenshots attached, photos of error messages, offline routers, a blank thermostat screen. He tagged me, my parents, his wife, 5 of his friends, and, in a tone-deaf flourish, the local community page. He was trying to bury me under his flailing reputation. The comments were a circus. Is this true? Why would she do that? Typical family drama. Bro, didn't you brag about your IT connections? Pay your tech support then. Leave her alone. And, my personal favorite, man destroyed a kid's project and is shocked she cut him off? Embarrassing. It only took 15 minutes for the narrative to slip away from him. People remembered his boasts, his arrogance, his short temper. Reputations crack loudly when they were hollow to begin with. He tried replying to the commenters one by one. Panicked, messy, defensive. It only made him look worse. I didn't comment, didn't argue, didn't feed the fire. I just watched him burn in a flame he lit himself. Then, after dozens of frantic replies, he shut off comments and deleted the post. But the internet never forgets. People screenshotted it and shared it everywhere. His meltdown became entertainment. I closed my phone, set it face down. Stevie looked up from his project. Trouble? Liam, I said simply. He nodded once, then turned back to wiring a sensor. We'd learned the same language. Some storms don't deserve attention. A knock at my door, the only one I expected. That night, as Stevie showered, there was a knock. Not frantic, not entitled. Measured. I opened the door and found a face I hadn't seen in years. Bryce, my ex-boyfriend. We dated 4 years before life and distance pulled us apart. No cheating, no screaming, just 2 people wanting different futures. And now, he stood on my porch, hands shoved into the pockets of a worn leather jacket. His hair was shorter, his eyes softer. Hey, he said. My heart flickered. Hey, I echoed. He gave a cautious smile. I saw Liam's post before he deleted it, figured there was more to the story than he shared. I snorted. There's always more. He nodded like he already knew. Can I come in? I hesitated, not because I didn't trust him, but because letting him in felt like opening a chapter I'd boxed away. But he was one of the few people who ever treated me like a person instead of a utility. So I stepped back, He walked in, and his gaze swept the entryway, settling on the soldering station and the skeletal form of Echo 2.0 on my dining table. "You two building something?" he asked. "Rebuilding," I corrected. He studied the frame with genuine interest. He always admired how I made homes out of circuitry. "What happened?" I told him, from start to finish. The drone, the smash, the laughter, the smart homes, the cut cords. He didn't interrupt, didn't gasp, didn't say, "You're overreacting." He just listened. When I finished, his jaw flickered with tension. "They hurt Stevie," he said quietly. "That would have been enough for me to burn bridges too." Heat stung behind my eyes. Not from pain, but relief. Someone understood. I sat on the couch, suddenly exhausted. "Everyone thinks I overreacted." He shook his head. "Everyone who benefited from you will always think you owed them." He leaned forward on his knees. "But you don't." Something in me loosened. I hadn't realized how tightly I'd been holding myself until his words softened the knots. "When did you get wise?" I murmured. He grinned. "Around the time I realized I was an idiot for letting you go." My breath caught. Before I could answer, Stevie padded into the living room, fresh from the shower, hair dripping, wide-eyed at seeing another adult. "Oh, hi." Bryce stood. "I'm Bryce, old friend of your mom's." Stevie nodded slowly. "You here to help?" Bryce smiled. "Only if she asks." Stevie considered him with a seriousness that didn't belong to a 12-year-old. Then he nodded once. "She doesn't ask a lot." "From the mouths of children." Bryce looked at me, a silent question. "She's trying," Stevie added. "She's just tired." The boy could gut me with a sentence. I exhaled shakily. "Go finish up your circuit," I murmured. He nodded and disappeared down the hall. Bryce waited until he was gone. "You okay?" he asked, voice low. The word caught in my throat. "I'm getting there." He sat back down. "You don't have to do it alone, you know." "I'm not alone," I said. "Just selective." He smiled. "I hope I make the cut." There was warmth in his tone, gentle, patient, not pushing. I didn't know where this was going, but I wasn't afraid of it. Not anymore. "Coffee?" I asked. His smile widened. "Only if you're having some." I stood. "I always do." Unfinished stories. We talked until midnight. About work, about life, about the quiet ache of growing up too fast because no one else would. When he left, he paused at the door. "Marina?" "Yeah?" "You did the right thing. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." He left before I could thank him. And suddenly the house felt less heavy. Less haunted. I double-checked Stevie's door. He was asleep, snoring softly. Echo 2.0 rested on the desk beside him, LED heartbeat pulsing slow and steady. I whispered into the dark. "We'll give you Sky soon." Then I returned to my office, opened the Echo protocol document, and typed, "Step 2, reclaim." And for the first time in weeks, I slept. The morning after Bryce's visit felt different. Not lighter, but steadier. Like the ground beneath me had finally decided to stop shifting. I made breakfast while Stevie worked, quiet humming drifting from his workstation as he calibrated Echo 2.0's gyroscope. We were mid-routine, eggs sizzling, coffee brewing, when my phone buzzed. Not with a call, not a text. An email. Subject: Notice of contract termination. Row Ventures. I clicked. A short message, cold and clean. Due to the recent service outage and failure to provide deliverables, Row Ventures is considered in breach of contract. Per the signed agreement, all investments are withdrawn. Legal review pending. I blinked, then read it again. And again. There was no anger in me, no vindictive thrill, just a quiet recognition. Liam was unraveling under the weight of his own choices. And for once, I wasn't there to stop the fall. I forwarded the email to my personal archive, closed my laptop, and slid breakfast onto Stevie's plate. He glanced up. "Everything okay?" "Yes," I said simply. "Everything's just happening." He nodded like he understood. Maybe he did. A public collapse. By noon, Liam's business Instagram vanished. Then his Facebook, his LinkedIn, gone, wiped clean. The digital version of walking out of a restaurant without paying the bill. Shortly after, another community post surfaced. Row Ventures shuts down. Internal failure, sources say. Comments poured in. Saw this coming. Never trusted their pitch. Guy oversold everything. Not one defense. Not one person stepping forward to say he tried his best. Because truth was, he never did. He only tried when someone else was holding him up. Without support, he collapsed like a bad connection. But he still hadn't reached the bottom. Not yet. School calls. At 3:14 p.m., my phone rang. The caller ID read, Principal, Silverwood Middle. I frowned and answered, "This is Marina." A breath, then a tired voice. "Ms. Hale, I'm afraid there's been an incident involving your nephew, Colt." Of course there was. What happened? She sighed. He and his brother spray painted the gym doors with profanity. Security cameras caught everything. I closed my eyes. When I contacted their father, she continued, he claimed the cameras were malfunctioning and refused to come in. Of course he did. So, she said delicately, we reached out to you. Given you've handled past technical issues with the Rowe family, we hoped. No, I cut in. I'm not involved in their household anymore. A pause. Oh, understood. I softened slightly. If the school needs statements or additional support, I recommend contacting their mother directly. Yes, ma'am, we will. I hung up. Stevie looked up, curious. What did they do now? Graffiti, I sighed. He blinked. At school? Mm-hmm. What did they write? I hesitated. Then, let's just say they need a better vocabulary. He snorted. They always did. I couldn't argue. Patterns. The fallout spread like dye in water. Their systems shut off. Their comforts removed. Their social masks cracking. And with every collapse, a truth revealed itself. They never learned consequences because I had shielded them from it. Every bill unpaid, I covered it. Every device broken, I fixed it. Every argument unresolved, I absorbed it. I'd been a dam against their chaos. And now that the dam was gone, they were drowning in their own flood. Not because of me, because of themselves. An email that made me pause. By evening, I received something unexpected. A handwritten-looking message scanned into a PDF. From Frank, my father. He'd never been a man of words. Emotion baffled him. But the message was unmistakably his. Marina, your mother is upset with everything, but I wanted to write instead of call. You always hated the phone. I know you shut off the systems. I know you won't fix them. And I don't blame you. We leaned too hard on you. We let Liam take advantage. We didn't stop him. That's on us. I'm not asking you to undo it, but your mother, she's scared. Life got too easy with technology. Now we don't know how to handle anything. And your mother feels ashamed. If you ever decide to talk again, I'll be here. Love. Dad, I stared at the message for a long time. Not because I forgave him. Not because it changed anything. But because it was the first time in my life he'd said, I see what we did. And that mattered. Not enough to fix us, but enough to note. I closed the PDF and filed it away. For someday, maybe. Just not today. Choices. Later that night, Stevie asked if we could fly Echo 2.0 in the backyard. He was ready. So was I. The drone lifted smoothly, stabilizing midair. Silent, deliberate, like it remembered what had been done to it and rose anyway. We both watched as it ascended above the fence line, above rooftops, into open sky. Its LED pulsed, steady, strong, alive. Stevie grinned. He's perfect. He is, I said. I lifted the controller higher. Your turn. His eyes widened. Really? I nodded. He grasped the controls, hands steady, brows tight in focus. Echo 2 obeyed him like instinct, sweeping wide arcs, dipping low, rising again. He flew gracefully, fearlessly. When he landed it, the drone touched down soft, a whisper in grass. Stevie exhaled, face glowing. That felt amazing. Because you did it, I said. You brought him back. We brought him back, he corrected. And maybe that's when I realized we were both rebuilding more than metal. We were rebuilding trust. Home. Self. Just then, the front doorbell rang. Not the smart one. That was dead. The old analog chime I'd installed last night. Stevie startled. Who? I already knew. Only one person would show up this late and still knock like they had a right. I squeezed his shoulder. Go inside, I said. He nodded and disappeared. I opened the front door. And there they were. All three. Liam, Elaine, Frank. Standing small on my porch, like children finally forced to face the teacher. Liam held a bouquet of flowers, half-wilted, plastic wrap crinkling in his grip. Mom looked exhausted, Dad solemn. Liam cleared his throat. Can we talk? I stared at them, saying nothing, letting the weight of their presence hang heavy. 5 minutes, I said. They walked in. For once, quiet. They stood just inside the doorway, awkward, silent, small. Nobody offered to sit. Nobody assumed they should. For the first time in my life, my family waited for permission. I leaned against the counter, arms folded. 5 minutes, I repeated. Liam swallowed hard. He stepped forward and placed the sad bouquet on the table, plastic crackling like a cheap apology. His voice shook. I'm here to apologize. The words looked painful coming out of his mouth, like he'd never spoken them before. He cleared his throat. What we did to Stevie, to you, was wrong. He glanced toward the hallway where Stevie had disappeared. I should have stopped the twins. I should have thought, but I didn't. I laughed, filmed it, treated it like a joke. He swallowed again. It wasn't a joke. Silence settled over the room, heavy, but cleaner than the chaos they arrived with. Liam's hands trembled. I'd never seen that before, not even when his world crumbled online. And his voice cracked. When everything fell apart, the business, the house, the bills, I blamed you. He blinked hard. But that wasn't you. It was me. All me. He let out a brittle laugh. You were never my enemy. You were my crutch. And the second you stopped holding me up, I fell. He looked up, eyes brimmed red. And I needed to. Those words hit the room like a quiet truth. He wiped his face roughly, almost angry at himself for crying. My boys will come here next weekend to apologize to Stevie in person. No excuses, no cameras, no pretending. He looked at me directly. I don't expect forgiveness, I just needed to say it. He stepped back. My mother, who never once admitted fault in her life, took a shaky breath. When you shut everything off, she whispered. I was furious. Of course she was. But then, I realized I wasn't angry because the systems didn't work. Her voice trembled. I was angry because without them, without you, we had no idea how to live. She pressed a fist to her chest like she was holding something in. You've done so much, for all of us, quietly, constantly, and we never appreciated it. A tear slipped down her cheek. We treated your help like obligation, not generosity. She looked suddenly older, smaller. That's on us. Dad stepped forward, slow, steady. He'd always been the quietest, but somehow the most honest. You set a boundary, he said, and you're sticking to it. He nodded once. That's strength, and I respect it. I exhaled, not relief, not forgiveness. Just acknowledgement. Liam reached into his jacket and placed a white envelope on the counter. This is for the new drone. Parts, tools, whatever he needs. I didn't move to touch it, didn't thank him. Money doesn't fix damage, it just settles a balance. He nodded at my lack of response, as if he expected nothing more. We'd like another chance, he said. Not at your tech support, not at handouts. He swallowed. At family. The word hung there, not a demand, but a request. One I'd never heard from them before. I let their words sit, let silence stretch. Then I spoke. I'm not your technician, I said softly. I'm not your safety net. I'm not the person you call to fix everything you break. They nodded. If you want something from me, I continued, you pay me, like anyone else. Mom wiped her face. That's fair. And if any of you ever disrespect Stevie again, or me, I walk away permanently. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. I won't warn you. I won't explain. I'll just leave. Liam nodded instantly. We understand. Dad stepped forward and put a hand on the counter, not touching me, just grounding himself. You're not wrong, he said. We made you responsible for everyone but yourself. He exhaled. That ends now. I studied their faces, worn, deflated, finally aware. I nodded once. This is the last reset. 3 pairs of shoulders eased, not with relief, but acceptance. You can go, I said. They thanked me, for time, for listening, for boundaries. No hugs, no sentimental promises. Just quiet. They slipped out the door, closing it gently behind them. That alone was new. After, Stevie emerged from the hallway the moment the door shut. They're gone? Yes. How'd it go? I considered. They apologized and listened. He blinked. Like, actually? Actually. He absorbed that, eyes narrowing with cautious hope. So, now what? Now nothing, I said. We go back to our life. They go back to theirs. And if they want to be part of ours in a healthy way, they'll show us. He nodded slowly. Okay. His gaze drifted to the counter, to the envelope. You gonna take it? I shrugged. It pays for parts, not forgiveness. He grinned. That's fair. We returned to the workshop, to Echo 2.0 glowing patiently on the table. The house felt still, not tense, not afraid. Just balanced. A new thing we were learning to trust. Releasing control. Later that night, after Stevie went to bed, I opened my laptop. The Echo protocol file still sat on the desktop, a quiet reminder. I stared at the admin dashboard, the 2 gray nodes representing Liam's and my parents' systems. They'd been offline since I cut ties, dead to my access. I hovered over delete remote admin rights. My hand didn't shake. I clicked. A prompt appeared. Are you sure you want to remove all network management capabilities? Yes. I clicked. One line appeared across the bottom of the screen. Remote access removed successfully. Just like that, it was over. I opened the Echo protocol document and typed the final line. Phase 3. Release. Protocol complete. I saved the file, closed the laptop, and sat back. For the first time in years, I felt free. Not because they changed, not because they apologized, but because I let go of the weight I was never meant to carry. I turned off the lights in the workshop, Echo 2 pulsed one last blue heartbeat before settling into standby. Upstairs, the house breathed in soft, peaceful quiet. And before I went to bed, I whispered into the dark, "We're safe now." I meant Stevie. I meant me. I meant both of us. Weeks passed, not with drama, but with a quiet so clean I almost didn't recognize it. No calls, no demands, no sudden crises. Just space. Life without someone else's hands pulling at my sleeves. I filled that space with things I'd forgotten I loved. I gardened on the weekends, read at night, built models with Stevie just for fun, not because we needed to prove anything. We flew Echo 2.0 often, in fields, at the park, by the lake. Watching that little machine arc and sweep across the sky felt like reclaiming something I didn't know I'd lost. Freedom has a sound. For us, it was the hum of motors cutting through open air. Sometimes Bryce joined. Sometimes he just came over to cook dinner with us, to talk or sit in silence that didn't need filling. We didn't define anything. We didn't rush. We simply let presence, gentle, quiet, honest, be enough. And it was. Family, version 2.0. A month after that night, I got a text from Liam. "Ready if Stevie is. Can we come by Saturday?" No demands, just a question. I asked Stevie first. He thought about it, really thought, then nodded. "Yeah," he said. "I want to hear them." Saturday came. They arrived on time, another miracle. This time, Liam didn't stride through the door like he owned the place. He waited on the porch with his boys, Colt and Nash, both fidgeting nervously. My mother and father stood a respectful distance behind them, quiet, observant. I opened the door. "Come in," I said. Not warm, not cold, neutral. They stepped in carefully, like the floor might crack. The twins stood in front of Stevie, shoulders tight, eyes lowered. Colt spoke first. "We're sorry," he mumbled, voice cracking. Nash echoed him. "We shouldn't have touched your stuff. We shouldn't have broken it. Dad said it was ours to fix, so we're here." It wasn't eloquent. It wasn't dramatic. It was sincere. Stevie studied them, a long, quiet moment. Then he nodded once. "Okay. Just okay. Not forgiveness, not reunion. Just acceptance." Colt dug into his backpack and pulled out a small box. "We made this with Dad." Inside was a 3D printed frame. Sleek, light, painted the exact shade of Echo 2.0's luminous blue. "Spare parts," Nash added, "in case anything happens." Stevie's lip trembled. He nodded again. "Thanks." And that was enough. The boys exhaled like they'd been underwater. Liam stepped forward next. "No excuses," he said quietly. "They owned up. So will I." He looked at Stevie. "I was jealous and stupid. And I hurt you. I can't take it back. But I can show up now. The right way." Stevie didn't speak. Just looked him in the eyes and gave a tiny nod. Then Liam looked at me. "Thank you for giving us another chance. We won't waste it." I didn't say you already did, or don't make promises you can't keep. I just nodded once. Then I stepped back. That's enough for today. Everyone understood. They left quietly, peacefully. No pretending. No pushing. Just truth. Redefining. That night, after Stevie went to bed, I sat on the back porch beneath a sky full of stars. Bryce joined me, 2 glasses of iced tea in hand. "Successful day?" he asked. I tilted my head. "Strange, but good." He nodded thoughtfully. "Family's not static," he said. "It's iterative." I raised an eyebrow. He laughed. "Sorry, programmer metaphor." I smiled. "I liked it. Iterative how?" "Versioning," he said simply. "You patch, you update, you keep what works, you remove what doesn't." I thought about that, about boundaries grown thick like roots that held us upright. "Then this is version?" I asked. He shrugged. 2.0. We clinked glasses. The night felt easy. Safe. We sat in silence until he finally asked, "What's next for you?" I stared at the stars. "I don't know." He nodded. "That's a good place to start." What we keep. The next week brought little changes. A card from my mother, no requests, no guilt. Just, "Thinking of you. Love, Mom." Frank emailed me occasionally. Small updates about their garden, or a photo of a bird he couldn't identify. Liam sent pictures of his boys' latest projects. Simple wood kits they'd built instead of destroyed. He didn't ask for advice, just shared. He'd taken a job with regular hours. Stable. Something simple that made him sweat in a way that humbled him. And slowly, without fanfare, the chaos faded, replaced by something quietly human. We weren't healed, but we were building. The right way. Full circle. One clear Saturday, Stevie and I drove to a bluff overlooking town. We pulled out Echo 2.0 and launched him into the sky. He soared, higher, faster, cleaner than any version before. We watched him dance over open air. Stevie pointed ahead. "Look, there's the whole town." I followed his finger. The neighborhoods, the school, the homes where chaos once lived. Everything looks small, contained, safe. I like it up here, Stevie said. Me too. He lowered the drone slowly, smooth and steady. As Echo 2.0 descended, glowing blue in the afternoon sun, he whispered, "He came back stronger." I smiled. So did we. We packed up and headed home. Family isn't what you're given, it's what you choose to keep, what you choose to build, what you choose to protect. And sometimes the strongest families are the ones you rebuild from scratch, piece by piece. Like a drone that once lay shattered on a bedroom floor, we gave him a second life. We gave ourselves one too. Back home, I opened the Echo protocol file one last time. At the bottom, beneath every step and every note, I typed, "And Echo lives. End." Then I closed the laptop and went to fly with my son.